Welcome back, Leo Lions. This is Mrs. Morgan with today's lesson over more exponent properties. So we're going to talk about two more. One is power to a power. So we'll have an exponent that is raised to another exponent, so power to a power. And then we're also going to have a product to a power. So notice inside the parentheses, you're going to be multiplying something, and then all of that is raised to a power. So we have two more exponent properties for today. To begin, the top 6 questions are review. We have talked about zero powers, negative powers, and then also multiplying with the same base. So pause the video and see if you can answer these first 6 questions correctly before we begin. Then you can press play and see if you have them correct. We know anything to the 0 power is 1. So this would be 27 times 1. So this simplifies to just simply 27. The variable is gone in that answer. This one, so we have a negative power. The 13 does not have a negative power, so it stays where it's at. And then the x gets thrown to the bottom instead of the negative 3. Oops, it is now positive. So 13 over x cubed. And the next one, so this one, we do have 2 negative powers. So the negative power on the x, that needs to go to the denominator. The negative power on the y, that needs to go to the numerator. Now, notice what's left. We have 3/9. So think of that as a typical fraction, 3 over 9. We can divide both of those by 3. So we do want to simplify the fraction. So it'd be 1 over 3. Now, like I said, that y to the negative 8 gets thrown to the top with a positive power. And then on the bottom, we do have a 3. And remember, there is a 1 up there 1 times, but with the 1 in front, you don't have to write it. So I'm going to simplify it. Then the 3 is on the bottom. That x to the negative 5th gets thrown to the bottom with a positive exponent. So there we go. Number 4. So we can multiply coefficients. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. We have same bases, x, so we just need to add our powers. Negative 6 plus 10 is positive 4. So negative 8x to the 4th. Again, multiply your coefficients. Don't let that 5 confuse you. That kind of confused me for a second there. 3 times 4 is 12. Then we have x, this is to the first power, remember, and x to the negative 3rd. So 1 plus negative 3, we get x to the negative 2nd power. Then we have y squared, so y, add them to the 4th. Now that is not simplified because we have a negative power. So keep the things that have positive exponents. 12 really does have an exponent of 1. We're keeping that where it's at. The y has a positive exponent. So we'll have 12y to the 4th on the top. And then the x gets thrown to the bottom with a positive power 2. So 12y to the 4th over x squared. And last one, again, multiply your coefficients. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. And then we have x cubed, x to the negative 8th. So add them, we get to the negative 5th. Again, not simplified. The negative 12 stays where it's at. Since this is negative, it can go out in front of the fraction, or you could have it with the numerator 12. That's fine. But the x needs to be thrown to the bottom with a positive exponent 5. So there is some review over the properties we've already discussed. Now, power to a power. What we do in this scenario is multiply the exponent. So anytime you see a little exponent in the upper right-hand corner raised to another little number, we're going to multiply. And remember, when we expand these out, so if you ever question, what is the rule? What do I need to do? Think about what x cubed means in the parentheses, x times x times x. Well, then it's a square, so that means we're going to do the x times x times x twice. And then notice how many do we have? We have 6, and then that's why we have x to the 6th power. That's why we multiply the exponents. So example 2, I'm not going to expand this one out because now we know we can just multiply these. So negative 3 times negative 4 we're going to get 3 to the positive 12th power. Again, we could do 3 to the 12th power. You'll probably get a big long number. So always pay attention to what the instructions are asking, whether they want the answer with positive exponents or whether they actually want you to evaluate and simplify that 3 to the 12th. Okay? Again, let's pause here and see if you can do the next several examples on your own. Actually, I'm noticing here there's an error because there should be parentheses around that b to the negative 3rd power. Okay? And let's see if we're on the right track. We'd get n to the 8th power. After we multiply powers, we'd get b to the 6th power. It would turn to a positive power because we have a negative 3 times a negative 2. Then here, negative times a positive, so we'd end up with r to the negative 6th, but that's not simplified. We need to rewrite that as 1 over r to the 6th. And last one, multiply c to the 6th. It's positive. So we're done. All right, so that's that rule. Now, the second rule is where now we have something in parentheses here. So again, think about if we expanded this out, 3a squared, that means 3 times a, and cubed means we would do that 3 times. So pay attention to what would happen here then. We'd have 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a's. So we'd have a to the 6th. So notice what we just did. We cubed this 3. So the exponent 3 goes to the 3, and it also gets multiplied and distributed to that a to the 2nd. So what we're doing here, when we raise a product to a power, so anything in parentheses that's raised to a power, we're actually going to use somewhat what we call the distributive property, if you remember that. So technically what we're doing is distribute the exponent to everything, each factor inside the parentheses. When you distribute the exponent to another exponent, well, we just talked about that rule, well, then you're going to multiply the exponents. And that's what we did here, if you notice, after we expanded that out. So that power of 3 went to the 3 and the a squared. So let's apply that without having to expand it out. So this negative 2 power goes to the 4. So we'd have 4 to the negative 2nd power. And then it also goes to the a cubed. So we'd have a, and then power to a power, we're multiplying. So to the negative 6th. Now, unfortunately, we've got negative powers, so we need to rewrite this. Both of these terms have a negative power, so they're both going to be put to the bottom. So that means we'll have a 1 on top. The 4 gets put on the bottom with a positive power of 2. The a gets put on the bottom with a positive power of 6. Now, I am going to take this one step further because we can simplify 4 squared. So 1 over 16a to the 6th would be our simplified answer. Okay? Again, pause the video. Let's see if you can get the next 7 questions correct. So this one, boy, is very similar to the example we did up there. I was a little confused for a second. So we'd have 3 cubed, and then we'd also have x squared to the 3rd power, so we multiply. Now I'm going to take it a step further because 3 cubed we can do. And like I said, very similar to that first example we did above. Okay, number 2, multiply and multiply because both of these have powers. So we'd get y to the negative 4th and x to the negative 6th. Again, not simplified because both have negative powers, so we'd get 1 over. And I'm actually going to flip-flop these because they're supposed to come in alphabetical. And so it should come y to the 6th, or sorry, x to the 6th, y to the 4th. And number 3, we do it again. Now notice here we have 3 terms inside of the parentheses. So the 5 goes to the 2, so 2 to the 5th. It goes to the y, so y to the 5th. And then it also goes to x squared, so now we multiply, so x to the 10th. Now, we can simplify again because 2 to the 5th, 2 times 2 times 2, so on, 5 times is 32. Again, I don't like that they're not in alphabetical order. They're not supposed to come that way. So x to the 10th, y to the 5th. And there's our simplified answer. 4. Ooh, again, we're missing parentheses on 4. So it should look like this. So the power of 2 goes to the 2, it goes to the m, and it goes to the n. Now they're in alphabetical order. So we get 2 squared. The m squared will change to m to the 4th because we multiply. And then the n to the negative 3rd will become negative 6 because we're multiplying again. And we can do 2 squared, so we get 4m to the 4th. N has a negative power. Actually, I wasn't planning. Oops. I'm going to give myself a little more room here. So 4m to the 4th, but I want to make sure I had enough room for my fraction because we have the negative power, so it gets put on the bottom with a positive power. Number 5. Ooh, lots of these are missing parentheses. I apologize. There we go. So 2 power 2 goes to the 2 and the x cubed. So we get 2 squared x to the 6th. So 2 squared is the same thing as 4x to the 6th power. 6. Again, we're missing a couple things here. Parentheses goes there and there. So now let's try this. The 3 goes to the x squared, so that becomes x to the 6th. Then times, we get 2 cubed, and then x to the 6th since we multiply. Now we can simplify. I'm going to put these x's together. X to the 6th, x to the 6th. So we're going to add them. That's our property where we multiply powers. 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So we get 8x to the 12th power. And last one, finally we have some parentheses in this one. So the 2 goes to the 3. We get 3 squared. It goes to the x squared. We get x to the 4th. Times, now the negative power goes to the x. X to the negative 2nd. It also goes to the y. So y to the negative 6th. Now, a couple things we can combine here. We've got same bases. So 3 squared, I'm going to do 3 times 3 and get 9. 4 plus negative 2, because we are multiplying. And then y is negative 6. So we're still not done because we have a negative power there. So 9 and x squared stay on the top. They have positive exponents. Y gets thrown to the bottom with a positive 6. And there we go. So there are 2 more exponents.